Bodybuilding Live on Fridays. We're going to talk about the newsletter that went out today, which is the decline in young men under 40, the decline of testosterone. So there's like a trend of testosterone deficiency in men under 40. And it was the figures like about 26% of men are also showing the effects of erectile dysfunction. 1 in 4 men now have, under the age of 40, now have testosterone deficiency. And, you know, this is really common with our clients and something Alex knows a lot about. So bringing Alex on here to really do what he does well, which is, you know, recall all that amount of information he has between his ears about this topic. So yeah, like I said, it's now 1 in 4 men under the age of 40 have testosterone deficiency. So what do you think is causing that?
Obviously, or
Let's go with the
let's start
obvious.
with the obvious.
Yeah, let's go with the obvious ones.
Alcohol, big one, is going to increase, sex hormone binding globulin, which means even if you have high testosterone, it's not going to allow it to be used into free test because people forget that the free test is what's actually usable, and so you could have a lot of testosterone, but if it's not usable, then it floats, and so it's not being used.
So
And so it'll
you could get tested and show that you have normal levels of testosterone, or how would that show up?
Yeah, I mean, you can have high levels of testosterone and low levels of free testosterone, which is why, testosterone injections are used is it gives you free test. So when someone injects 200, deciliters of test or 100 deciliters of test, it doesn't seem like a lot. It's like, oh, it's only 100, but it goes right into the system. And it's so basically if someone has 50 usable test, and then all of a sudden you add another 100, now you've increased their test 3 times over. So,
Mm.
and yeah, so that's the kind of the interesting part because you can have the 2 testosterone measurements that they check, which is the free test and the total test. And so alcohol will increase your sex hormone binding globulin, amongst other things, and so it'll rob your body of the ability to use tests. So if your total test is low and your sex hormone binding globulin is high, then you have uh, then you have even less free test to use, and then that brings it down even further. Um, and then sleep. Sleep is one of the biggest ones. Sleep is when all of your androgenic hormones are made, including testosterone. So poor quality sleep is going to cause the inability for your body to actually use tests. So, like for example, you have lights on in your room, you have a noisy area that you sleep in, or you're full of EMFs, or you're near busy road and you don't soundproof your room, and your body's not getting that restful sleep, and your body's in a fight or flight mode. Some people have a fight with their partner and then they go to sleep, angry or agitated, and they may sleep for 8 hours, but it's not quality sleep. Importantly, let's keep the nuance out. Let's say they sleep 8 hours a day. Maybe it interrupts their sleep, or they go to bed late. And, they're going to sleep at 12 or 1 a.m., getting up at 6. They're getting 5 hours. Their body's not creating and rebuilding their body, creating tests and rebuilding their body. Another big thing is cholesterol. Cholesterol is the precursor to hormones in your system. So you're talking about, if you're not having good quality fats in your system from animals, you're not having cholesterol. Cholesterol also helps build myelin in your system, which is surrounding every single nerve in your body, including 90% of your brain is made out of myelin. And so if your brain is made out of myelin, basically, and then cholesterol makes myelin, and so now you have these, so medications that could decrease cholesterol can also interrupt the pattern of testosterone and myelin formation and hormone production and cell wall production. Cholesterol does a lot. Every cell wall that you have in your body is supported and built by cholesterol from good quality animals. And
Like omega
um,
3s versus, you know, all the other like seed oils and things like that. I mean, you can go to KFC and get a good amount of cholesterol.
Yeah, correct. But you want it from good quality animals, from animals that have a healthy welfare. Uh, and
Somebody
my
coming
father
in to
has
say
walked
hello.
into the room.
It's your dad?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, well, then I don't know who's in our house right now.
yeah.
Anyway, that said, okay, so low cholesterol, which I would with yeah, speaking of that, because obesity and excess fat also can cause low testosterone. And when we're talking about men under 40, it's like 1 in 4, men under 40 now have low or just like official testosterone deficiency. And so it could be low cholesterol, but most people don't start taking cholesterol meds until they're in their 40s. So what's going on with the men under 40? Could it be too much cholesterol or too much fat?
Yeah, and if you increase the amount of bad, let's say most of us are like, YOLO and partying while we don't have kids or in their 20s or in their 30s. You're drinking alcohol, you're eating fast food, you're putting yourself in danger of increasing the amount of toxic load you're putting on your system from the chemicals in the food, from the chemicals inside of the animals that we're eating, because like you are what your food eats. And so if it's eating poor quality food, you're eating that food. And commercial meat industry, they could feed them anything, and that's when you see plastics showing up. And um, before we get too far, I mean, I can throw some more stuff like plastics and antiperspirants and heavy metals. These are all going to be endocrine disruptors, different fragrances. And so a lot of times people think it's like one thing, but people miss the concept of the bioaccumulation of it all. And so if you have health experts advocating it's okay to drink artificial sweeteners, and it's going to take you 72 cans before it becomes toxic, and who drinks 72 cans a day? Well, how long does it take someone to drink 72 cans of artificial sweeteners? And if it's in your protein bar, if it's in your protein shake, if it's in your cheat meal, and if it's in your diet, so it accumulates in your system because your body doesn't know what to do with it. And so when your body doesn't know what to do with it, it disrupts other biological functions from happening. And then that's when you see this steady decline. And this doesn't happen overnight. Your body is a responsible for keeping you alive. And when you do this for since you're a child, most of us get some kind of fast food as a treat, or we go to school and we eat whatever the snack is, and then we have school lunches, and then our parents don't control whether we drinking high fructose corn syrup, throwing off our blood sugar, which is also keeping us in a fight or flight state. And it's like this bioaccumulation of all these factors um, is going to create a gigantic problem um, later down the road. And then you have talking about like polyester clothes. And there's been even a study where they took men, and they put them in polyester underwear and watched their sperm count. It didn't go down, but their motility went down. And they switched them back to cotton. And within 6 weeks, everything, I think it was 6 weeks, everything was restored back to normal. All their motility, their swimmers, everything was swimming again. So you take something like a polyester garment and you put it over your body, and it's going to rob your body's ability to naturally aspirate and breathe. And if we ever have any, like anyone does jujitsu or wears like a shirt, polyester shirt for work, I mean, it's like you take that thing off and it's like all of your sweat that's been built up, and it smells bad. Unless you
Yeah,
put
like
on
most sports
antiperspirants.
bras. Yeah, like we take our sports bras off and it's like yeah, there
Yeah.
is this level
So
of like yeah.
yeah, then we have this bioaccumulation. Like I said, we have this bioaccumulation of all of these um, uh, factors. So I would say if one person is wearing polyester clothes but doing everything else right, they're less likely to have their testosterone be 200 by the time they're 30. And so it's minimizing the exposure to all these things. Like plastic water bottles. Ah, it's only once, no big deal. And then but then you get the same water bottle and you refill it for a year, and it's like leave it out in your car, and then it starts melting and leaching microplastics into your body, and they're finding it in people's brains and through their tissues, and it goes everywhere. And so these kind of disruptors are going to create a massive problem um, as you
Yeah, so
continue
it's
your
like
life. And when
pesticides and chemicals, the polyesters, the um, plastics and all of that stuff. When they say there's phytoestrogens, I know this answer, but I want to bring it up and have you talk about it, because also in developing Bursky and the working with USDA and FDA and all the labels and all that stuff and all the things that you found out about the food industry, especially more specifically the meat industry, is like, what do they mean when they say all the phytoestrogens in the food supply, soil, and water? Like what is
well,
that? Where does it come from?
phy- phytoestrogens comes from, you can get it from plastics. You can get them from soy, things that create they're estrogen mimicking compounds. So your body, like fluoride. Fluoride is an easy example. It's easy to grasp onto. You kind of get the picture. When you take fluoride, it mimics iodine in the system. So when you hear all these like conspiracy theorists being like, oh, it blocks your pineal gland. So what it does is your pineal gland likes iodine. It feeds on iodine. And so fluoride also has a very similar compound, and it can get confused. And so your pineal gland absorbs this fluoride, and that's why people say they have calcified pineal glands. And if you take a CBDC scan, it's a cone beam scan from dentistry, and if you get a full one that's like 18 inches, it scans your whole cranium, you might see a little pea-sized dot in the middle of your skull, and that's a calcified pineal gland, which is why like I take like Shilajit and stuff like that. And since I've been getting all this dental work done, I've noticed that when I first got it, I was like, "What the hell is that?" And they're like, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's your pineal gland is calcified," and I'm like, "No way." So my last cone beam scan, I did not have a pineal gland that was calcified, which is pretty cool because of all the iris sea moss, the Shilajit,
All the
has been
crystals and yeah.
yeah, all the woo. Yeah, has been really helping. It's been quite interesting. So the phytoestrogens are kind of the same thing. They're estrogen mimicking compounds, and when your body attaches to them, it takes it, and then your body starts to create estrogens and other uh, like hormone disrupting patterns in your system. So
Okay.
it interrupts processes as well. And I may need to sit with that a little bit more to be able to describe phytoestrogens and how they disrupt the
Yeah, because
system.
they talk about phytoestrogens and plastics and pesticides kind of all together, but I don't know how pesticides are there phytoestrogens and pesticides? I don't know. Are those two separate things? Those just count as chemicals that interrupt the endocrine system, which down the line will disrupt your ability to produce your hormones or use your hormones. Yeah, so
Yeah,
we've got alcohol. Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
definitely not going to pretend to talk. I'm definitely not going to pretend to talk out of my butt that I know the direct translation of how pesticides translates to phytoestrogens. And so,
But we
but
know that they're
the easy
endocrine disruptors.
correct. And
Right.
um,
Okay.
and so if they're disrupting your endocrine system, it's going to be hard to make testosterone or any hormone. Uh, Minus cortisol. But we both know that what happens when you sustain cortisol for too long, and then eventually your cortisol dips, and now you have no motivation to do anything, and that's a whole other problem, which is quite interesting. Um,
So yeah, that's like the snowball down the hill. We got
mhm.
alcohol, poor sleep, not enough cholesterol or, healthy proteins and fats in your diet, obesity, polyester, phytoestrogens, plastics, fluoride, pesticides. We've hit on all that. But talking about like fluoride and iodine and all of those things, what are some like nutritional deficiencies or nutritional gaps that could also lead to low testosterone or testosterone deficiency?
Minerals, trace minerals are a huge one. We can survive on trace minerals more than we need food and macronutrients. And so if you are in a coma, you could survive on micronutrients. You need acetylcholine and calcium and magnesium and boron, phosphorus, vitamin D, all for biological functions. For example, A, D, E, all those nutrients that you see in the back of a label are necessary for biological function. Some
Iodine,
of them are water
zinc.
soluble. Yeah, zinc, 100%. If you want a functioning immune system, like zinc is, there's a fun test that I learned a long time ago that you take liquid zinc and you put it into your mouth. And if you don't taste anything, that means you're zinc deficient. If it tastes gross, that means that you are full on zinc. You're good. And so it's like a nice little marker you could do to get some, and you can Google the test. Maybe we can find it and post it because it's a
In the
really
link.
fun one. Yeah, first time I tried it, I was like, I don't taste anything. Crap. And then I would take it, and then it was like a couple of weeks later, I was like, oh, it's starting to taste bad. And it's like, okay. Then I got off of it, and I was like, how interesting. Um,
Mm.
but all of these, like copper, and we have boron is missing from the soil, magnesium is missing from the soil. Um, that's necessary. And boron helps absorb magnesium, uh, vitamin D, calcium, phosphorus. We have a excess of phosphorus. People that drink soda, like fountain drinks, they have a huge amounts of phosphorus in them. Which, if you have too much phosphorus, your body has to balance it, and so what it binds to is calcium. So you have phosphorus, and then too much phosphorus, your body doesn't have enough calcium. And then what it'll do is phosphorus will take calcium out of the system to balance it out and then reintroduce it. So you're basically robbing your bones of mineral density by trying to balance out like a soft drink. So there's even more compounding factors when you talk about how the earth makes stuff balanced until we destroy it. And so I'm almost missing what I was talking about.
The
What you mentioned
nutrient
in the beginning.
deficiencies. I mean, we were talking about all the trace minerals and how
Yeah.
important that is.
Yeah, micronutrient having a full spectrum of micronutrients, like between like sea moss, shilajit, different types of properly unrefined salts, are really important to get the micronutrient breakdown because they're, magnesium when we take them as like a supplement, like magnesium threonate or glycinate, it's like one molecule of the magnesium chain. And so when you find some elemental magnesium, that's all of the magnesium still intact. And then so your body knows what to do with it versus having a hyper dose of one specific magnesium out of the 100 plus, like 118 or 112 different molecules of magnesium. Same thing with sodium. You have like the sodium phosphate, sodium carbonate, sodium calcinate, sodium nitrate, sodium phosphate. Yeah, all those come out of unrefined salt. It's sodium, like it's
Hmm.
salt. And so from that one salt molecule, you can pull all of these different sodium chains off of and isolate one and overdo one. Sodium bicarbonate is another one.
Hmm.
Baking soda. And so when you have salt whole and intact, your body knows what to do with it because the earth made and it's you can sustain life. But when you overdo one, well, what if your body needs more of another to balance it out? So it can become this like fun little experiment that becomes not so fun later, um, to harmonize your system, but it still doesn't quite work 100%. Like if you have a leaky tire, you could use like a supplement to like plug the tire, it still leaks. You can use a supplement to put foam in the tire, it still leaks. And then so you need a genuine repair or a new tire, but you can't get a new body, so you have to find who your body luckily is self-repairing if you give it the circumstances to self-repair. So by minimizing exposure to all of these things, you'll give your body the best chance to create those, and including, like my multivitamin every day is Shilajit, or when you make it, I take the CMOS because I don't want to make it.
Yeah, yeah. I need to do that. We have so much, I keep forgetting about it. But okay, so we've talked about all like the big sort of what everybody talks about in the environmental stuff, the metabolic stuff, the nutritional stuff, lifestyle, stress, poor sleep, etc. What about, some people like to suggest that maybe pharmaceutical drugs, well, some could have obvious effects on the testosterone. Obviously, antidepressants, SSRIs, cholesterol medications, things like that makes sense. But vaccines, that's something I'm on. Like the jury is still out for me personally because I mean I know there's a lot of things vaccines can do that isn't good, but wondering how it would directly or indirectly lead to low testosterone.
I mean, I can say indirectly because I don't know exactly. Like, there is no, sorry, Penny's being really cute. Um, uh, there's always going to be someone to argue. Well, there's no, you know, direct link, and they're probably right, but there's always an indirect link. Um, to how the body can be mismanaged. So, like heavy metals in the system, it's pretty common that there are tons of heavy metals inside of these jabs and whatnot. And so, if you put too much metal in your system, your body is your brain is an electroconductive generator. It creates electricity, and if that wasn't true, then our nerves wouldn't have. We would have to refigure out how nerves work. And so nerves are basically electrical cables that have points that feed into our muscles. And when we think about moving all of these joints, our brain sends electrical signals through our system. So when you have too much metal in your system and misplaced, whether it be in the brain, it's either it can overexcite or underexcite. And you have laws of science, Arnold Schultz law, that basically will say that if you have low stimuli, you need to add more stimulus. If you have moderate stimuli, you favor that stimuli. If you have a strong stimuli, you have to bring that stimuli down. And if you have an extremely stimuli, your body will turn it off. So, like, trigger points are a redirection of electric current into a certain point. So if you ever like touch your trap and then like, oh, I feel it in my brain, when that's a trigger point because like, how am I touching here and I feel it here? And so you go, okay, well, that's wherever this is robbing current, this is creating current, but it's also coming out here. And so you're having a pattern disruption, and then the muscle will turn off. Trigger points are the fastest way to turn off a muscle. So if you're trying to use your trap, that fiber that has a trigger point will completely turn off because it's too much current. So if you're exciting the system with too many heavy metals, which again, if you get your shots every year and when you're a kid and whatever it is, and you're over accumulating these things without the ability to detox foreign chemicals that your body doesn't know how to process, they get stuffed and lodged in fascial tissue, fat tissue, even brain tissue, they find it in there, organ tissues. And it basically throws off the way your body creates electricity and transfers electricity. And if your body is overexciting things, turning things on, turning things off, decreases function, like you got too much current going through your vagus nerve, which impacts your digestive system. You can't digest food. Now you have food rotting in your system, and that's not good. And that increases parasites, that increases fungal overgrowth. And so, indirectly, through these kind of cycles, you're stunting other things from working, which then will stunt hormones from being produced properly, which then leads to things like low testosterone or high
Right. So
estrogen
it's like a
or
very far removed route that creates many channels to directly lower testosterone or in anyone disrupt their hormone balances. Um, Another one I wanted to ask about because it seems to go hand in hand when people talk about testosterone and taking TRT and performance enhancing drugs. Then you think about the bodybuilders and um, those who are getting into sort of bodybuilder type of lifestyle or gym lifestyle, CrossFit, things like that. It can be really what we've noticed and what I've noticed is that just in that community, those who are real metalheads in the gym, is even if they don't have testosterone deficiency, they're taking testosterone, and how that can actually lead to testosterone deficiency. Because I think that's what you and I have seen the most of, is that young men are taking TRT and growth hormone peptides and performance enhancing supplements and things like that, which is down the line actually when they're not such a metalhead or whatever then they're and they get off of that stuff and it just crashes. So like what is it about taking TRT that causes testosterone deficiency?
The simple, straightforward answer is when your body makes it and then it stops needing it, it stops producing it. And there's medical interventions as to why you could use it. Like there's kids who are aren't growing properly, and they get growth hormone and they start growing properly. It's a necessary thing for some medical cases, to kind of move things along if kids are born small or whatever it is, and they don't have a growth hormone or whatnot to get them going. But when you start becoming older and you're relying on external sources, your body will stop making its own. So it may initially seem like it's a lot, but then as your body stops making it, you have to take more of it. And then as your body completely stops making it and you're relying on it, then your body is kind of used to this level of testosterone. And when remember, it doesn't take a lot. Like 150 deciliters of free test is a lot of free test. It's a lot of testosterone. Uh, when we're talking about free, not total. So like if you have 150 deciliters of free test running through your system, it's going to make you feel like you can run through a wall. And so it doesn't take a lot. Um, and some people may have like 20, 30, 50 free test. And so again, that's what we're saying. 100 deciliters of test brings you to 150, and you're like, whew, I feel amazing. And then to go when you have no natural test, and then you're like, screw it, it's another 50, and then you're kind of stuck on that your whole life. And I've been experimenting with ways to bring people off of it, but I'd be happy to try with some more. I think that'd be great. Um, but to answer that question, and to answer that question, um,
So when you take
what
TRT, your body takes it as instant free testosterone. And so then your
instant
body,
free?
instant free testosterone, yeah. So then your body's like, oh, I don't need to make any more. So then,
Correct.
yeah, so it's like you're shooting it up high, and then your body's like, I'm good. And then the less that it makes testosterone, then you don't take it. It like doesn't know how to make it, or it just stopped getting
Well,
the message to make it.
so here's some other examples. If you give your body artificial sweeteners and your body releases insulin out of your pancreas, and then it goes, there's no sugar here. What does your pancreas do? Stops making insulin, and you become insulin resistant. If you take too much melatonin to sleep,
Oh,
what
that's
happens?
a good
Your body
example.
stops making
Okay,
melatonin.
that makes
You
sense.
know?
Okay,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's these kind of things. The more your body goes, oh, we have it. Why are we making it? If it releases it and it's not usable, then your body stops making it. The next layer of that is one, they're all a lot. I think all of them are patented. No biological thing is allowed to be patented. You can't patent a cow. You can patent a cow that you made in a lab. You can patent lab made meat. You cannot patent organic life. So anything that carries a patent is made in the lab, and it has to be. Even if it's bioidentical, whatever it is, again, there are benefits to it. There are ways to use it properly. But we're talking about the people who are not using it properly and then not knowing the consequences of not using these things properly. All of these carrier oils, if you ever see like bodybuilders, they'll always have like a little like a lump somewhere, and that's usually the injection site because it's fat. It's carried in fat that your body doesn't know how to digest, and so it stays in your system. And
Oh,
so when it's injected into your subcutaneous fat or under your or subdermal or transdermal, where you're putting it on your system, and your body doesn't know how to process these foreign fats, so they end up accumulating in your system, and that's why you see some bodybuilders with like a nodule on their glute or on their abs or on their thigh, or you see hardening of certain tissues. And I've worked on people like this, and their fascia turns into like tendons. They're not muscles anymore. They dry out and then they
oh,
become unusable. And that's usually at the site of injection. And so it damages the tissue. Uh, these carrier oils cannot be got removed from the system, so they accumulate, and your body basically like lumps them all together and then kind of puts them somewhere. And then once you get lean enough, that's what I'm saying. Once you get lean, really shredded enough, like these bodybuilders who are like 3-4% body fat on stage, you can see that these nodules that you can't get rid of. And these are the fat deposits from carrier oils, from growth, from tests, from steroids. Some of them are, um, some of them are, uh, you know, casually used. Some of these are professionally used. Some of these are like dirty steroids. Some of these are like chemical, like lab made steroids. But regardless, these carrier oils don't get processed in the system, and so they accumulate in the body. That's
Yeah, so
another.
I noticed too, like the past 15 years, and maybe even the past 10 years, just it was seemed to me it was almost like, the holistic health conscious community and natural living lifestyles and things like that. Men and women in these communities and in those industries are all about a holistic lifestyle, a holistic mindset, an approach to wellness, but like, except Botox, except TRT. It's just a hormone, right? Like, so I've noticed that sort of increasing this self acceptance and overall acceptance of like, but this is cool, and like, and yeah, and that, and a little bit of that, because I'm also living very healthy, and I'm also, I eat a paleo diet, and I get lots of sunlight, so a little bit of this, a little, yeah. So it seems to me like it's more of a feeling and an aesthetic, like presenting oneself a certain way, because we're in Austin, Texas, and it's really popular in this community, and we know some people who take it. A lot of them, some of them were professional athletes, some were fighters and things like that. So it's like, yeah, when you're young, it's not uncommon for because when you take TRT, like, you feel real good, you can conquer the world, and it helps you perform better, helps you train. So I get that, but then there's just this also, just, I don't want to say average Joe, but it's the average person with, they're not trying to win a race or lift the heaviest thing. It's just, it's the need for the aesthetic. I talk about a holistic lifestyle, and I talk about uh, the consciousness and spiritual growth and self development. So I want to look the part, and we've noticed it's now just spreading. I mean, in our little bubble in Central Texas, just everywhere. And you can tell when they're taking TRT. And if you choose to, by the way, I just want to preface this by, like, if you take TRT, like, that's it, no judgment. Take it. If it feels good, you feel good. The purpose of us sharing this is to make sure we all know that if you're taking it, what the long-term effects are. And I'm going to let Alex kind of cover ways to get off of it, ways to optimize your testosterone and increase it and get your body making it again. I mean, unless you want to be on it forever, but it does cause infertility, no?
Yeah, it slows down motility, and that's what I noticed. It's pretty, and it's not for everybody. And some people will cycle on and off. It's harder to get someone pregnant once you've been taking uh, TRT for a long time. And then on top of that, like to piggyback on what you're saying, you should know why you're taking it. And this is all this is if you're like a 20-year-old kid who like is insecure that he's a skinny guy, and it's like, have you fixed your digestion yet? Have you learned how to train your muscles properly yet? Have you learned how to sleep and go to bed on time and not stay on your phone or play video games at night? Have you learned how to drink water? Have you learned how to, if you haven't done these things, then you probably don't need it. You probably have a crap load of testosterone, but you're not training properly. It's like the same thing as if you're going like, you know what? I need a self-driving car because my every time I drive a car, I crash. And it's like, maybe you should learn how to drive in an environment that doesn't make you crash first. Then you'll be more comfortable driving a car and being responsible behind the wheel. And this is the same analogy. And there are people that need to get a competitive edge where it's legal. Sometimes they use it illegally. that's on you. It's like if you feed your family with this, and I think what you're talking about is the average Joe of like, Tim the accountant who is like, dropping, tons of TRT and then exercising, when there's no reason. Tim needs to get up and eat healthy and not drink Mountain Dew at his desk and, drink coffee, twice a day or a pot of coffee. Like Tim needs to this archetype of Tim that I've created needs to reduce the amount of stuff that he's doing to disrupt his system from optimally working, and then see what happens. And then most of the time, people don't even need testosterone. It's they start moving around, they start working on their mentals, clearing their mind, so there's less space taken up in this thing. They start learning how to breathe properly. You can meditate. You drink enough water that your body needs to produce every biological chemical reaction in your system, and breathing again, because oxygen is responsible again for a lot of those, almost all of those biochemical reactions. And once you have those things in place and you still need it, then again, it's like no harm, no foul. And if you're 50 years old, 60 years old, and you've lived a life of like, sacrificing for family, and you're like, I need to get my life back in order, my T's down, like
Yeah,
full
like for my
full
dad,
blessings.
my dad's gonna be 84, something like that, and like I would totally give him TRT, because I feel like that it would just boost his energy and his confidence in a way that he could just go for a walk past our driveway. Right now, he's just trying to get up the hill and back, and that is an accomplishment. Super proud of him, by the way. Side note. But what you're saying is like the mistake that younger men are making when they choose to take TRT because their friend who looks all jacked and this influencer and all these other people who are just super jacked and look amazing and they seem like they got their shit together, so I'm going to take TRT. What you're saying is like the younger men who are making that decision, the mistake they're making is skipping what they can do for free and just
Yeah.
getting back to a very healthy baseline where their body can produce it on its own and not have to worry about it. Because, I mean, when you think about it, if you're, kind of living this lifestyle or you're trying to crawl your way out of it, maybe you're out of college, you've got a job, you worked for a few years, you're like, I'm sick of the video games and I'm sick of just drinking every weekend. I don't even think I can afford it anymore. And watching TV and I feel like shit. And so they start reading, some books, listening to some podcasts, following some influencers, start making some decisions to, go outside more, go to the gym more, lift some weights, eat more meat, whatever, stop drinking, etc.
Get some sun.
Anyone who does that's going to feel good. They're going to feel better. I mean,
I
so
forgot sunlight.
sunlight
Sunlight.
is on my list. I mean, it is. Like if you're staring at a computer all the
Yeah.
time and teenagers and I mean even men into their 30s, they're staring at their phones, their
Yeah.
computers, they're playing video games and they go to a job and they're just that's all they do. We have teenagers, they're not boys, but we see what teenagers do. Like once you're in high school, you're on a computer all day long and then you come home, you do your homework, you're on a computer. So like even that right there, if you don't play sports outside, where are you getting your sunlight? Where you know
And most people see bodybuilders. They see Ronnie Coleman, like one of the best bodybuilders that's ever existed. He's a absolute wreck now, but that's not what I'm referencing. What I'm referencing is Ronnie Coleman was an absolute unit before he even took steroids. So like there's a guy that kind of capped out his like genetic potential and then he's like, what's next? Oh, be the best bodybuilder on the planet. Got it. So he was already like big. And for most people, aesthetics are easier to get than muscle size. One of the most interesting things is like almost anything can be given to you in this life. You could be given patience. You could be given love. You could be given money. You could be given sex. You could be given almost anything except strength. You have to earn that.
right.
Like, and so there's nothing on the planet besides faking it that can help you deadlift 500 pounds. You got to work for it. And so there's these factors involved where people are trying to uh, hack past that and get the thing that they want because that's what we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned to getting dopamine really quick. You and maybe some people listening, like I used to be an addicted video gamer, ranked video gamer, and I know what that's like, trying to get instant dopamine and like being stuck in that trap, and um, uh, I had to rewire my brain. And so a lot of us have to, almost all of us, and I don't want to say almost, I don't want to say all of us because there's a lot of people who are, don't have that problem, but a lot of people have a problem with getting the instant dopamine, and they're like, and I also want my results now. We've been, you know, everything
Hmm,
is faster and more
that's a good point.
direct and more instant, and it's like now it's like you don't have to go to a car dealership. You can, go online and pick out the car you want and they'll deliver it to your house. And you get your everything on the phone. You can fill out things online and it's instant. Oh, you can get insured right now. You can get a credit card right now. You can get
Yeah.
your, you know, everything right now.
Groceries. Yeah. I do like
Cor-
that part. I can get my groceries right now. I don't have to go to a store.
Correct.
But
Yeah, and
that's a good point. You bring up like that dopamine because that is related to the thing that we're going to segue in, but I'll let you finish.
I don't remember what I was talking about.
I
I guess we're
knew
we're
it was I didn't want to interrupt you. I was like, "Ah."
it's all right. It's all right. But basically, it was something along the theme of we have been conditioned to get the thing that we want right now, and since you cannot get uh, big muscles without training, like you will sacrifice your health and your values. And what's the only thing you can take to get bigger muscles, like right now? Anabolics, TRT, growth hormone, and it's very enticing for a young person, especially when the Instagram culture is like literally there's you can go on Instagram right now and watch people go through that journey and they're like, oh yeah, I get rage and like, but look how big my muscles are, and like oh yeah, I got some acne, and you can follow their journey and you're like, oh, you know what, that's not that bad. Well, let's wait a couple more years and see what happens. And
So
all of
yeah,
these people who
before
are
before segueing into that, because that was in my mind before, is like, you know, all of these instant things like Ozempic and Botox and fillers or plastic surgery or TRT and all of those things. Like there's benefits and necessities around all of those things. I mean, technically, I could get Botox and that would cure my headaches, uh, so I've heard, but like I mean that there's commercials about that. I even asked our daughter's dermatologist, like, what is with the ads saying Botox for headaches? She's like, I don't know. She's like, even the dermatologist was like, I don't know. But yeah, so like, but I do know there's like good, everything has its benefits and its necessities, but you bring up the dopamine and you bring up like need the instant now. Like you can take supplements. Like if you like, I tend to have iron deficiency, and I feel like shit when I am iron deficient. So I'll take, some ferritin or iron with some vitamin C for a few weeks to like boost me up. But I just can't imagine taking it all the time because then it boosts me up to like help with the symptoms. But if I stay on that, I just then I feel like I don't know, or I won't be able to tell when my iron's low or if I need it or if I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, or I need to add or modify or whatever. So it's like this need to have this like instant gratification, and then we get hooked on it because like it's like women, if you get Botox, well now you gotta always get Botox because what it does to the muscle, it weakens the muscle, and you get Botox, and it you think we can't tell, but we can tell, and there's no judgment there. Get it if it makes you feel beautiful, do it. And it's probably one of the least, you know, red flag or threatening things in terms of whatever, like Juvederm and fillers. I could go on and on about that. Breast implants, like if you choose Botox and none of that, fine. But once you do, it zaps the muscles. So you can tell once the Botox is gone, the muscles, your face just starts to droop in ways that that it didn't even before you got the so now you're so hooked on Botox. Now you got to Botox for the rest of your life. And I think that's sort of what you were saying before earlier, like why taking TRT causes you to have low testosterone. Because it's like once you're taking it, now you got to always take it. Um, but you don't really always have to. So I want to go back to the dopamine thing because again, the instant, it's instead of just not going to McDonald's and getting off your medications and stop drinking coffee all day, like Ozempic is easy and it's wildly available and fairly cheap, like, and you can just get access to it. You can just call, so I can get access to it. I can go on a website and just order it right now. Well, it's semaglutide. So, like, why wouldn't someone with that mindset be like, let's do it, let's go? But if you're doing it, if you're taking Ozempic or you're doing Botox, people can tell. Like if you're at work, you had like there's a bunch of people at work and suddenly 10 of them are all losing weight. I mean, you know, like did they change their lifestyle or did they get Ozempic? But when it comes to TRT, there are signs, and not to like freak everybody out, but that's how we can tell when we see clients and influencers and podcasters like the what's his name, the Liver King. Yeah, like we knew a long time ago that he didn't look like that eating raw liver and testicles because there are signs. Um, and so not I'm not bringing this up to say like, hey Alex, can you tell us what the signs are so that we can then go around and be like, that guy's on TRT. It's more of like, this is what happens when you take TRT. What is that? What starts to happen to your body? What do you start to notice other than I feel like a king and I can lift heavy shit and I've got energy and a boner? Like aside from that, what are some things you may notice?
Um, I'm gonna say this because you made up a good point, like so we don't point them out. But if you are a person that's considering it or haven't taken it, or you're on this journey of like, I don't want to do something like that, use this as a tool to identify potential people you idolize and go, wow, if I only looked like that. So if we could use this to stop a mind virus from happening, um, of comparing yourself to someone who has not gotten there the way you want to get there, is like, oh man, they look way better than me. And then you find out they've been on, growth hormone or steroids or testosterone, and then TRT, and then you're like, oh, they're enhanced. That's the new term for it. It's
Yeah.
enhanced.
It's like
Um,
when you told our daughter she's 19 and she's all insecure about her teeth, even though she has amazing teeth. And you took out the phone, you're like, show me what are you talking about? She was like saying specifically she wants her teeth to be shaped like this and do, whatever. And so she brought up photos and you're like, that's not real. Those are veneers. So it's like being able to tell, like, it's not that anything's wrong with you, it's that you're comparing yourself to something that you'll then have to decide, am I going to get there through diet and lifestyle and lifting weights, or am I going to take something? And we just need to be aware of that. If that's what you want to look
yeah,
like, you have to add something into the ingredients.
yeah. It's like women like, wow, her breasts are so perky, and you're like, yeah, because they're fake. Of course, they're going to be perky till they're going to be perky in her coffin. Like
Hmm.
they're going to still be the same way. And so yeah, you can't compare those two things together, and it creates a messed up standard for men and women.
Yeah.
But some of the things you'll notice is like when you start injecting these fats into your system, your skin will start to pigment and start to change colors. And so if you ever see like a purplish, maroonish hue on people, and it's not evenly distributed through their system. Anyone that's natural, you'll see like an even coating of skin, and I'm talking about like the pigments all look the same. But then you'll start seeing like almost like depths to their pigments, and that's when you see the fat, running through their system, the insoluble fat, running through their system, and it's undigestible. So when it reflects light and the way your skin tans becomes a little bit different, and so you're gonna start noticing skin differences. You're gonna start noticing jaw structure differences, and mostly in the muscle development of the jaw. And there's a big trend of like people making their masseters bigger, but now that you run the risk of wearing your teeth down and cracking your teeth. It doesn't actually make your mouth bigger, but it'll change the structure of your jaw, your face, and all those muscles will also get developed. So it's not like it's a spot treatment of testosterone where it like only goes to your biceps and your pecs and your calves or glutes or whatever you want to grow. It's like all the muscles. You have muscles in your eyes. You have muscles. The smallest muscle creates every time you get goosebumps. That's a little muscle in your skin that's contracting. So all these you have muscles in places you wouldn't even think about working, and those are going to also be affected by that, especially on growth hormone.
Mm.
And growth hormone on top of that will grow. Like if you ever see like big, they call it growth gut. Guys would stand there and they have like a big gut, but they have no body fat. That's from their organs literally growing because growth hormone affects all
Um,
things. Yeah,
yeah, so
and they could
it's like the
flex and
top
look
of their,
lean.
it's like kind of the top of their gut. It almost looks like they inhaled
No,
but
no,
never
it's the whole
exhaled.
gut. Yeah,
Uh,
it's the whole gut, not the top. It's the whole gut. It's called growth gut.
yeah, but they
Taking up
have a
some
six
steroids.
pack, right? It's like there's a six
Yeah,
pack there, but it's like it comes out beyond the rib cage a little
yeah,
bit, right?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So there's that,
And so
the
you're gonna
skin pigment and the gut and things like that. My question was that also
acne.
TRT can cause hair loss,
Yeah.
whereas healthy levels of testosterone actually contribute to
Promote it.
healthy hair. So why is that? So why, if you're on TRT, do you start losing hair?
Um, I can see there's several things because like that I'm not quite sure of because it's the total test. When your total test exceeds like people say they want more tests and there's a high range of tests. Some people say 1100, some people say 1300. And there are people naturally with like high levels of testosterone. So if you ever see a bald dude with big calves, and he may look overweight, but there's a good chance that he has like an insane amount of testosterone flowing through his system, even though you're like, he doesn't look like he has high amounts of tests. But they don't use that. And then so you can actually develop markers for certain tumors and stuff like that when you have too much testosterone running through your system. But you also have muscles in your scalp, like you can move your scalp around, right? And so those muscles are going to get stronger. And I have people that have a hard time growing hair, and as I release the fascia in their scalp, they can grow hair better. So I'm not quite sure directly why they lose hair because if they're only injecting about 100 to 200 deciliters, maybe even 50, like it's not. I don't know the direct correlation to why they lose hair. But if their total test exceeds 1300, people will naturally start losing hair.
Yeah, because I have noticed that with just seeing people, either online or our clients, that it's like right here, like you can see that it starts to thin. Like even if they have long hair, they have long, beautiful hair, but like right here, it like starts to thin, but also the hair gets real like gnarly and dry, So it's like, do this with your hair real quick. Like, yeah, it doesn't do that. If they do this, like the hair kind of just stays out. You know what I mean? Like it's got a lot of hairspray in it. That's what the hair starts to look like. So just an FYI, if you're thinking about taking TRT or you may have just started it, and just know like the long-term effects of it is that's what's going to happen. Likely, depending on how you use it and if you abuse it or go with a good mindset of that. But here I'm going to go segue in, kind of hopping back to that dopamine instant gratification thing, and how being on computers and the blue lights and video games and things like that, it's like that dopamine. So like dopamine has a correlation to testosterone, right? So like low testosterone can also be correlated or coincide with lower levels of dopamine. So we're constantly trying to hit higher levels of dopamine. Um, it's like the video game is like TRT for dopamine, right? It's like you're getting like those constant hits, right? And so then when you take the video game away, you feel shit, like you're depressed, you're distracted, you can't focus, you have no motivation, blah blah. So segueing that into something else that's going on in men under 40. So I may have misrepresented the numbers at the beginning of the recording or the show, is that it's 20% of men between the ages of 15 and 40 have testosterone deficiency. It's 26% of men under 40 have erectile dysfunction. So it's like 1 out of 5 have testosterone deficiency, and 1 out of 4 have erectile dysfunction. That's a lot. Like, what's going, is there a correlation there? Is it chicken before the egg? Or is it, is it that EDs, like the root causes of the EDs, are also very similar to the root causes of testosterone deficiency? Or does one usually happen before, like what's going on there?
There's a lot. Okay, so let's unpack this. So men normally get up with morning wood, right? And that's a sign when you're fully relaxed. So now you have this like overstimulation, and you're not getting dopamine from being a man. You're getting dopamine from, artificial sources, whether it be like, corn for the recording reasons. Replace a C with a P and you get it. So they're getting artificial stimulation, and um, they're using that as a way to deal with the amount of testosterone either they have or the lack thereof. The ED can come in from many different ways. So morning wood, your body's parasympathetic. If you are comparing yourself to other people, if you are, stressed out, if you don't know what you're doing with your life, or no one there to guide you, and then you have then like you think women want a certain thing, and like you're comparing yourself to people in these corn videos on PH, and it can mess with your psyche, and so that compounded of lack of self-worth can stress the system out. And so you're going to now feel terrible about yourself. And instead of going to do something positive, talk to other men, whatever it is, you go headfirst into, trying to over exercise, and your body can't, it's not doing it properly. And then you go back down and you're like, I can't do anything right. And can't do anything right. Um, man, my brain is going so many different ways with what you said about around ED. You know, it I'm trying to start somewhere, because it's like there's so many things. Like manhood, people equate, your their power rod to their manhood. It's like if it's not working, they're not a man. And so, when that goes out, it's a symptom of something else going out. And so if you can't get it up, like what else in your life metaphorically can't you get up? You can't get up yourself. You can't get up and do something. You can't be up and get kind. You can't, follow through with it, with your dream. Then you can compound that with a layer of anxiety. And so if you're already insecure, then you're met with even more insecurity. And remember what we said in the very beginning, between the levels of electricity that goes to your system. If you have too much excitement, your body turns it off. So people that get
Mm-hmm.
over psyched in their head, they can psych themselves out of an erection. And so then you compound that with over exercising, stress, sympathetic nervous system drive, feelings of insecurity, not knowing who is really a man. Is it like guys like Andrew Tate? Is it guys like Jordan Peterson? Is it guys like Jocko? Like who's a man? What am I supposed to do with my life? Is it David Goggins? Am I supposed to run 100 miles and do pull-ups till my hands bleed? Like what's a man? And that can really mess with someone's head, and then also not and realize that like these people have been doing this for a long time. And as a young man transitioning into college or post college, alcohol will definitely bring that level down again. The SBGH, like this,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, SBGH, which will rob you of testosterone and free testosterone. And so you have, again, these compounding symptoms. And so what do you turn to? Something that gives you instant gratification, something that gives you instant gratification, and you like will it into existence. But really, that's, the lifeblood of a man. That's the vital function of the man is producing sperm and that ejaculate and whatnot. I'm trying to see because this is on YouTube. I don't know what my language is allowed and not allowed. So I'm trying to switch my words around. So in case I sound weird. Um, and so then you have this whole concept of like preserve everything, don't waste a drop, never release it. And it's like, no, release it, but like at the right time, and it's okay, and you need to recycle it. It's like holding your poo forever. It's like, no, you gotta let it go. You gotta let
Yeah.
that ish go.
It's like one of
Um,
your most popular videos, which I still get notifications every day. I think I'm going to untag myself in that Dave Asprey video that you remixed about what was he saying? Like just not to release
no,
or
it
like
was prolactin. Every time you rub one out, you release prolactin, and prolactin is the reason why you hate your life, and and so every time you do this, that's why your job sucks. That's why your life sucks. That's why you don't like your wife, and it's like, no, it's you don't like your wife, you don't like your job, and you don't like your life and your wife, and you only realize it after you rub one out, and
yeah.
so that needs to change. So my point is that like when we dance the dance, it's like everything becomes better, and I'm realize my life how great life is, and so that's that realization. If whether you're rubbing one out or whether you're doing it or whatever the case is, um, that's the moment of reflection, and people use that as a manifestation tool because like literally as we think about it, when two people come together, man and a woman, and one releases in the other, you're ejecting consciousness to make another conscious thing, and so that is a tool. The magician in tarot, he's holding the wand. Your wand is right between your legs, and so if you're not creating things, testosterone and your sexual energy centers in your second chakra, sexual energy and creative energy are the exact same energy pretty much. And so if you're creating life, or you're creating art, or you're creating love, or you're creating thoughts or ideas or something novel, like those are the same energies that people have confused. And so when someone has a high sex drive, they also have a high creative drive, but they usually use sex as an outlet for creation. And so that could be anything novel, singing, dancing, playing, like however you want to, reorganizing a room, creating woodworking, whatever it is, painting, whatever it is. And so when people have high amounts of testosterone, I also think, and I observe this, that people don't know how to handle high levels of testosterone. And so what they do is they sabotage those levels of testosterone because no one's ever taught them that creation and sex drive go hand in hand. And so you have all this creative life force in your system. Either if, well, I'm not going to make a baby, so I'm going to go do something else with it, create a life for myself, create a partnership. You have all this energy to tap into, and then it's too much, and people will either sabotage themselves, and then when they sabotage themselves, they realize they miss it, and they get an artificial version of that, and then they use it to build up their muscles and build up their energy, and God knows what else they do. And so then you have this artificial creation process. And then based on what I said earlier, what you said earlier is like your virility goes down and your ability to procreate goes down. And so as you try to create, it doesn't work because
Hmm.
it's an artificial suppression of your creative life force. And so
Yeah.
what what else suppresses your creative life force? Looking at other people doing things that are amazing. Like it's fun to do, and like seeing people do amazing things, I love it. But most people use it to go feel good that someone else is doing it. And so they're constantly suppressing themselves while thinking, well, these guys are up here and I'll never get up there. And then they're down here and they go, maybe I can get to here, but they already were here. So they lower themselves past their own bar to get back to a bar that wasn't even half of where they were, and it's because they gave up on their dream or their passion or creation, or no one ever guided them to do that. And then what happens is they get so down on themselves that they can't get it up. And so this is like another byproduct of like Sugar. What happens when you eat too much sugar? You're like, I need a nap. You
Yeah.
go up and then you crash. And so coffee, stimulants, drugs, like some people need to feel something. So they take something to feel something because they don't feel, they're numb. And I was in that boat for a long time. I used exercise to feel something. And if my muscles were like on fire, I knew I was alive.
Hmm.
And hopefully this message gets across. If you don't feel anything and you're trying to feel something, that's dopamine. You're so sensitive to dopamine that you don't insensitive to dopamine that you don't even feel that you have dopamine coming in. And so it's really important to get good at being quiet because of the reason that you lower that bar of what dopamine is. And so you reward yourself for like daily behaviors like, hey, put my socks on. I know it's stupid, but it works. You rewire your brain as to what dopamine, clean the kitty litter, took the trash out. Fuck yeah, and like then you start to like get hyped on these little tasks and then when you do a big task, you're like, holy shit, that was amazing. That was rewarding, so you have to recalibrate your expectation and like your surge of where you get dopamine from. And hopefully it's not other people, uh, you know, recreating corn or other people doing fantastic things or hating on other people. People get dopamine from hating on other people. And they're like, oh, it's a rush, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, also watching a lot of corn kind of teaches men that women just love and just can't get enough of certain things that it's like, no, and so I can see where ED comes into play when you go from being stimulated by that and like, well, the screen on my phone said that this girl really liked it. Now I'm with this girl. She doesn't seem to be responding to it. And then it can psychologically just make you, you know. I think I told you a long time I was watching something, or I like, you know, scrolled past something that caught my eye, and I went back, and it was this woman who made like a meme or something on Instagram, and it was like, "There's a place in heaven reserved for men who do the slow pump," and I showed it to you, and I was like, "Yeah, you don't see a lot of slow pump on corn," you know, and so it's true. It's amazing. It feels great, and more men should have that. Eat my bursky.
As just swinging a meat stick around.
Yeah. Yeah. Tastes really good. Anyway, link is in the notes below, by the way, if you want to get your jerky. Um, get your jerky instead of jerk it, and you'll feel better. Your testosterone will go up, your vitality will go up, feel good. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, I can see like whereas low testosterone has all these different channels of root causes and as well as indirect channels that lead and spill into all those channels. It sounds complex, but it's not actually really complex. It's like, the physical body needs these things. We need the functions of our physical body is homeostasis, like our health, to be able to fight off disease so we can be alive. For energy and vitality, core functions are strength, stamina, and also sex and reproduction. And in order to have that baseline level of core functions, you need sunlight, and you need nutrition, and you need water, and you need sleep, and you need to move. So if like, regardless of all the things causing low testosterone, you can mitigate that by just getting rid of that shit from your lifestyle and just focus on the things that your body really needs to function and reproduce and be vital enough to keep it up, so to speak.
And
But yeah,
and
what
it,
what go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say and time, because if you're like 40 years old and you've lived this life that we've kind of described, like give it time, do the right things and give it time. Because like if you spent 30, 20, 30, 40 years trashing your body to expect it to be like
Hmm.
100% better day two, like you have to do the right things long enough for your body to clean itself, and it will take time, and it will happen. And I would argue that it almost doesn't matter what age, especially if you're like under 50, you could still, you know, change that without having to go any artificial routes. And even clients at 70, we have clients that are 70 years old that are coming in, and we're changing things, and and they're getting healthier and more vibrant and moving better. And so,
Dr.
your
Liao,
dad,
man, he's a great example. Dr. Liao, he's the one that we always refer people to for the jaw and dental stuff, and he's late 70s.
he's like 74. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But he looks and acts like he's late 40s, mid 50s, and he's got so much mobility and energy, and it's like, and he follows all of those things. You need breath, you need water, you need sunlight, you need movement, you need nutrition, you need to sleep, and he assigns all of that. And then when it comes to breath, he's the one who's like, let's open up your airway so you can get more breath. And he's the epitome of like what I would, the kind of energy and joy I want to exude when I'm that age, Dr.
And
Leo.
like, do you remember when he came over to our house and we're like, we invite him over for dinner, and I was like, oh, the only thing we have is like meatballs with like liver and heart. Are you okay? He's like, oh,
Yes.
perfect. Then he is
Yeah.
like, chowed it down, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. And I can't remember what the other sides were. We're like, we have lettuce, we have kidney, heart, and
Yeah, we had some weird
lamb
stuff and
meatballs or something like
testicles,
that.
lamb
Yeah,
testicles.
and he like ate it all up.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of shows. He talks about bone building diets. You need collagen. You need your airway to be opened up. But that's a whole different conversation.
We should
But
do
yeah,
one on
there's
that coming up at some point late June. We should do an airway thing. I think that's really important. I mean, your videos on Instagram talking about the airway and the jaw they just go off the charts. It I shouldn't be shocked anymore, but like just people are just like, what? Yeah. You dropped some serious bombs on that. So anyway, before we wrap it up, what are the signs of low testosterone and how can we increase testosterone?
um, low energy, low motivation. Um, I would say low strength. Uh, I would say,
Recovery?
yeah, you can't recover very well. Thank you. And yeah, you're like sluggish. You know, um, that would be some pretty good signs. Do you have any more, Sarah?
Um, I think like sexual vitality could be in there too, because I mean women have testosterone as well, um, and it functions in some ways similar to men, but it also has more some also divergent roles in our body. But you'll notice that in women's cycle, like right around ovulation, late follicular to ovulation, you'll see testosterone bumps up just as estrogen's going up. And so it's like that's like our peak immune system. Like our immune system is just primed, it's peak. Our creative energy is our life force energy, our libido, it's like peak. And so it's similar in women too. I can always tell when I'm about to ovulate because my testosterone hits the peak, and I'm working, I'm doing my thing, but I just can't like stop thinking about you. I can't get you out of my head, and I'm just like, now would be the time to be like, let's go for a nooner. But if I do that, if I open that door, like then I'm not going to be able to focus and concentrate for the rest of the day. But I know in those days where I'm like, can't stop thinking about you, oh, I'm about to ovulate. That's why. Even like a romantic song or something, and I'm just like, yeah, I just want to go outside and sling some broken tree branches around. So like that would be like that low vitality, low libido. That's similar in women too when they have low testosterone, because low testosterone is very real in women as well. We need some level of testosterone it does lend to us. It gives us mitochondrial, efficiency and energy output. And in women, there is a psychological aspect to it, especially when we peak testosterone at the same time we peak estrogen. So we're like super mentally sharp. Um, I wouldn't use your mental sharpness in your follicular, like late follicular to ovulation stage of your menstrual cycle, because that's peaking hormones. But for men, I think, yeah, your cognitive performance, if like you have a hard time retaining information or recalling information, that could be a sign of low testosterone. Uh, Weak muscle integrity, as we said, poor performance recovery or workout recovery, poor recovery with any sort of illness, because testosterone also plays a role in the immune system, right? I mean, it it like
It's an anabolic hormone.
yeah, it
It's your anabolic.
reduces the toll-like receptor 4 signaling on the immune cells. So it helps reduce inflammation and mount like a stronger immune response, so you can recover quicker or combat certain like viruses or bacteria. And so if you notice you're getting sick a lot more, you're dealing with more allergies, or if you do get sick, it takes you longer to recover and feel better. That also is like a sign of low testosterone, I would say. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And for
And what can we do
women,
about it?
yeah, I would say different. Another divergent thing in testosterone plays a huge role in bone density, more so than it does in men. So, like, if you have testosterone deficiency, there's two parts to this before we wrap it up. I was gonna be like 1 hour. Yeah, right. Anyway, um, if you have testosterone deficiency, how do you get it up? But what if you don't have deficiency? It's kind of like on the low end or the mid, but you want to increase it to feel better. Like, let's start with those two, because I think you do the same things, right? Like, maybe you don't have deficiency in testosterone, but you want to feel better, so you want to increase it. How do you do that naturally?
Well, go back to the beginning of the video and um, and listen to that. Whoever is tuning in right now, but I would say cutting out alcohol is going to be big. Getting to bed by 10 o'clock, or getting to sleep by 10 o'clock. I know that's like a stretch
Yeah.
nowadays. Getting sunlight across your eyes. Making sure you're drinking enough water, making sure you're having enough healthy animal fats, making sure that you are reducing the amount of, you know, polyester you put on your skin, or any kind of like satins, nylons, things like that. Having natural fibers that your body can breathe through, moving your body, exercising, and not only like exercising to like like strength training, like push your body intelligently, so that way you're continuously adding load to your system, and your body has to adapt. So it's an androgenic hormone, so your body at night when you sleep has to release testosterone to recover all those tissues. And so when your body places that demand through strength training, your body then calls for more testosterone to repair all that. And so it seems like a lot, especially for someone who's doing none of those things. But pick one of those things. So if it's cutting out plastics, drinking out of glass,
Do a
cutting out,
detox.
switching, do a detox, doing a heavy metal cleanse, doing a digestive cleanse, fasting. Fasting is going to clean your gut out, so that way if you don't eat for 1 to 3 days, you're going to like run out of poop, which means your body's like, okay, great, now we can actually create autophagy on the fourth day if you can get to that level, and your body will start eating away toxins and skin and all sorts of other things that don't need to be there. So it's start with one of the things I mentioned. Get good at it. If you're having a bad habit of drinking water, I recommend like literally put a steel canister in your car, put a steel canister at work, keep one by your bed, and it's like, but have them filled at all times, and when they're empty, go fill it up, and that way you have water all around you, good quality water. Add a little bit of sea salt in there. and then work your way up to doing, uh, you know, to the next one. So you're not like loading them up. Some people may like to load them up, so load them up if you're open to it. But yeah, sleep, movement, and water, and cutting out processed food, um, and eating regular food is definitely going to be one of the biggest contributors to, um, helping your body produce more testosterone. And if you wash your clothes and mitigate the amount of chemicals you put on your skin, 60% of what you put on your skin gets absorbed.
Yeah, like all the
So if you
perfumes and
find
detergent. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to mention it'll disrupt the pheromones of your natural body so that way the people who like your wife, if they're, you this happens. So if someone like wears cologne all the time and got married, and when they don't, the wife doesn't like the smell of the person, and like normally people are attracted to the smell of the person as they naturally are. Um, and it's a pheromone smell that gets picked up. And so the more you mask that, that's also going to be disruptive to your endocrine system. So those kind of things are going to be easy things that you can take out and swap, and soaps and shampoos and things like that. Deodorants, antiperspirants, go to a deodorant, go to something else that, lasts longer, apply it more often. But, if you want, naturally to increase your test, but you don't want to do this other thing, well, then this conversation really isn't for this person. If they're like, want their cake and eat it too, then, they're probably not going to be watching this. So if you do one of these things that I mentioned, or you're out of rhythm, then swapping it with a healthier, option, and like putting out blackout curtains and optimizing sleep. It's like you're not going to feel like a superhero, but it's going to accumulate. Some people do. Don't get me wrong. Some people are like, oh my God, I got sleep and it's like amazing. I put blackout curtains in, shut off all my devices. Some people are very sensitive, cut out all the lights, and they're like, wow, I feel way better. And so, but I'm not promising that it will be like, boom, next
Yeah, it's
level type
not
stuff.
instant.
Um,
It's not the Ozempic effect of increasing your testosterone. It's not gonna, you can't really cheat your way out of it. So where you're so eliminate all the things that are building toxic, sludge in the system. So it's alcohol and all the endocrine disruptors like plastics and chemicals and pesticides and perfumes. Like, because if you do a detox, but you're still applying and ingesting all of that stuff, like, I mean, you're taking a big dump in a clogged toilet. So you should start by eliminating those things. You know, and as you're eliminating all of the chemicals and the pesticides and the phytoestrogens and the plastics and the alcohol and whatever, and you start using things that are more natural, that your body, so your body can still breathe and also recognizes and can digest, then do a detox so you just get all the stuff that's stuck onto all the tissues and walls of your intestines and liver, and flush it out. And now you are like a brand new person, and you may not get you know spike your testosterone right away, but you're going to feel really good. You're going to feel good enough that you're going to be sleeping better, you're going to be pooping better, you're going to be digesting better, you're going to have more energy, so therefore you're then going to have the ability to also fight off infections and do a nice workout or be motivated for a workout. And then the more you lift weights, the more you have to produce, HGH, testosterone when you sleep. So then you get into the pattern of it. So it seems like a lot, but it's actually really, really simple from what I'm getting.
Yeah, yeah, very very simple. I mean, if you
And
want
be
to go to the
patient.
next step, like yeah, eating testicles does help a lot. So
Yes,
testicle supplementation does help.
I can be an expert witness and and testify that whenever Alex eats testicles, um, I gotta be I gotta go hide. Like if I have shit to do and I have stuff I need to get done, I gotta hide. I need to hide, and that's just a fact. It's very very true. It's like almost it's
I
like
mean,
within the hour. Yeah.
Is that where the saying I'm a dog with a bone?
I mean, it feels like it. You're like suddenly you just want to hug me a little bit more and put your arms around me from behind, and it's like, yeah, yeah, you gotta watch out. But also, it really does actually work. Yeah, so
Yeah,
get yourself some
it is
Versed.
a little bit of it is a little bit of a a shock, a little
It
culture
is,
shock to.
but it happens almost within an hour. And of course, if I'm like I have to focus, you're like, well, I gotta go work this out. So then you go to the gym. So anyway, it's a win-win.
But
Eat some
and
testicles.
if anyone wants to run an experiment, and all you have to do is get your testosterone checked, do a handful, even one of these things that I mentioned, including like sleep and water. Like if you improve your sleep, and then in 6 months test again and see what happens. Like your testosterone is going to increase. It's definitely not going to decrease, which is the most important part.
Yeah,
And you'd be very surprised. And then so then in 6 months add another thing or two or three, and you're going to watch it increase. And so people will be pleasantly surprised once they. I mean, like for example, like when I tested my testosterone 2 years ago, it was like 844, and then all I did was I changed nothing except increased testicles, and it went to like 904.
and
And I've
by
never taken any
increased
steroids.
testicles means you were eating them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I increased my testicle. I instead of eating them like once a week, I would eat like half a testicle every single day, and
yeah,
then
and you
in six
tested
months it
against.
went up.
Yeah,
Six
go
months
ahead.
later, and it went up like 60 something points. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we fleshed this one out. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments or come join us over at Bodie Building and where we go even deeper. And we have office hours every Monday and several forums in health and fitness and training and all that stuff. So join us over there and we'll see you guys next week.